the topics of the day for the animal articles I found. Penguins having fun. Wildfire kills many animals, and 5 new species found. Stay with me and let's get into it. We are moving on to the animal sections of the day, and I have 3 stories for you. The first one is Internet goes ah after singing Singapore Zoo penguins getting leg workouts in obstacle courses. And we will get it. This is a little clip of it right here, and I will show a small video. The Singapore Zoo colony African penguins have captured the hearts of netizens yet again, as they embark on a new adventure right inside their enclosure. To help the critters develop endurance to explore even more places around the park, zookeepers have transformed their exhibit into an obstacle course of sorts, complete with pits, ramps, and those plastic balls you find at ball pits. The idea, according to Wildlife Reserves Singapore, which manages the Singapore Zoo, is to let penguins exercise different muscles while they nimbly navigate many chasms and new carved out routes. Yes, people, it's the leg of the day for these birds. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to watch a small clip of this in a second, but it would also be appreciated if reproduction of the national habitat. The African penguins are only found in southwestern coast of Africa. Really? Isn't Africa like really hot? Making the homes along the coast areas of offshore islands. According to the South African Navigable Biodiversity Institute, the preferred habitats of those waddlers are sandy areas or steep rock sites, sparse vegetarian. Alright, so I'm going to stop it here and let's watch this article or video. Well, that was pretty cool and a really enlightening story. Now I want to move on to something about animals, a little sadder note. Alright, as many of you know, Australia just suffered a huge brush fire like throughout the country. So this report says as many as 1.25 billion animals perished in the Australian brush fires. So here we go. We're going to read a little bit of this. Over the past several months, brush fires have burned a huge portion of Australia's natural landscape. We're talking almost 18 million acres of brushland, forest, and national parks. This was not your typical annual brush fires, as Dr. Hirchu, an environmental science professor at the University of Sydney, told CNN. It should not be seen as such. The scale of these fires is unprecedented, said Hodge. There are substantial concerns about the capacity of these ecosystems to rebound from the fires. One of the more emotive examples of the situation is the loss of animal life. In total, ecologists estimated that as many as 1.25 billion animals, including iconic Australian species such as koalas, kangaroos, wallabies, what's a wallaby, and gliders, have been killed or displaced by the fires. In some instances, certain species may have gone extinct. Extinct means forever gone, no more. Species with smaller populations living in localized environments face the greatest risk of extinction, while species such as koalas and kangaroos were spared this time around. As their populations diminish alongside habitable land, so too did their chances of survival for the next fire outbreaks. The reason we need to pay particular attention here is that the next time may be sooner than we can afford. According to the new analysis, 57 peer-reviewed studies looking into the link between the climate change and wildlife risk, the weather conditions that had led to Australia's brush fires are set to become more common. The unanimous conclusion was that the climate change increases the frequency. So here's my thing. I could know a few years ago, the Australian farmers would go out and they would just go like kangaroo hunting, just kind of like how we would in America go deer hunting, just because they would say the population was too high. Furthermore, does Australia not have rangers, or do they not like clean their local area? Like when you have a house or something, you are responsible to trim trees, cut the grass and stuff to prevent fires. So why? I mean, I understand some fires are bad, but other fires are caused because of not upkeep, whether it's in a national forest or whether it's your local area. So what can people do to help with that? And how do you feel about the animals? What should we do about these animals? A lot of them are going to be displaced. Do we like replant trees? What do you do? I know a lot of times when like the forest burns down, there's many real estate people or local governments who go, oh yes, now nature is gone. Now we can build a city here. So is that what they're going to do here? I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm leaving it up to you. Because in those cases, sometimes people intentionally set these fires so they can build on it afterwards. Anyway, I leave your comments below on this story and how can we prevent big fires in the future. Like, comment, and subscribe. With our third story of today's animals. This one is news to me too. 5 new rotifer species found in central Vietnam. Now, I had no idea what a rotifer was, but I'll get into that in a minute. A microscope photo of a new rotifer species, linguistics, found by the biologicalist in Da Nang. Da Nang is on the east coast of Vietnam, coastal city. It is one of the 5 rotifer species that were discovered. Okay, so the point is that they found 5 new species. Part of it was solo, part of it was teamwork through this university. But again, I know many of you are wanting to know what it is, so I'm going to show you a small video I found on this. And what do you think about finding a new species? Is it exciting? Do you get to name it? Maybe it'll have medical purposes. I don't know, but here, let's watch the video together, okay?
I figured we could talk about rotifers. So what are rotifers? Well, they are microscopic animals. They are multicellular. Rotifer is Latin for wheelbearer, and in this particular rotifer, you can see he has a circular-shaped mouth, and around that mouth, which they call a corona, sometimes that's the head, there's cilia that rotate in a sequential pattern. You can see it right there, that suck the water and create kind of a vortex to kind of force feed food particles into its mouth. So other rotifer species have like Betaloid, which is a phylum of rotifers, are a little bit more distinct, where they kind of can tuck their corona in, or they can like come out of their corona and it looks like wheels. And so that's where the name wheel bearer came from. So just a little bit ago, I mentioned that there was a phylum of betaloid rotifers. There are 3 distinguished phylums of rotifers. There are the betaloids, the monogonats, and the sesanidas. I'm terrible at pronouncing Latin, so I probably butchered that. The betaloids have about 350 described species, give or take, depending on which taxonomy you use. And by far the largest is the monogonats. And then, interestingly enough, the sesanidas are the only saltwater rotifer species, and there's only 3 of them defined, and they're all found within the gills of a tiny crustacean. So that's really fascinating. By and large, rotifers love fresh water. They're very, very common all throughout the world, especially on the continents, but we found them from Antarctica to all the way up to like Norway. So pretty broad range. Rotifers are known for their corona, that wheel that you can see in the clip right there, that kind of wheel-shaped motion. They're also known for their mastax, which is this kind of claw-shaped structure in the center that, if you look at other pictures of rotifers, is very distinguished. It almost looks like a claw. That's their mouth. They use that to kind of squish their food, and like anything that's too big to fit through that mastax, they won't eat, and anything that's small enough, they'll eat.
You know, I hope you enjoyed that video. But one thing that after listening to that with you guys, that I'm curious, this article does not say what are those 3 classes these rotifers are. But remember, there's that one C5 one. They said there's only 3 that like salt water. But considering Da Nang is a coastal city, I wonder if any of these 5 were now found in the salt water, which means there's now more than 3 that live in the salt water. Anyway, what do you think about this species and this finding? Does it intrigue you? Would you share this with your science class for your kids' project or something like that? And do you think these people will get to name the new species they found? Please like, comment, and subscribe below. I'd love to know. Hi. The small clip you saw was brought to you by Loyal World News. If you like what you saw, you should subscribe and look up my daily Loyal World News report for its full version. If you don't want to watch it on YouTube, prefer to be on the road, I also have a podcast in every full-length video I put up.